he said in interviews that he actually called you up and wanted an introduction. He would say that he reaches out to you, sets up a meeting, asks if he needs to bring an agent, and you say no. Vince hates agents. I just think that's interesting that before he ever signed with WCW, he reached out to you guys. Do you remember this meeting? What did Vince think of him?
I think he liked him. Bill had a lot of the same baggage, if you want to use that term. That sounds so negative. But guys that don't grow up in the business, I always thought, I was talking to Bill, but he would say, well, I remember you guys did this on Mid South or whatever. That was the hub of the territory. He didn't watch wrestling. So, and he knew who I was, and we had a decent relationship in that respect. But I don't think Vince was. I think Vince was probably underwhelmed of Bill's lack of product knowledge, but he sure as hell liked the way he looked, and he was intelligent and articulate. So, but I remember that meeting, and it just we didn't have our system wasn't good, and Goldberg was expecting big money, and we weren't ready to give out big money to neophytes, so to speak, and which it all worked out, obviously, as time will tell. But he was a he was a fascinating prospect, to say the least.
So as the story goes, I believe he winds up hooking up with Eric Bischoff and tells him, he's not going to be a $500 throw around the ring punk. Those are his words, not mine. And he's going to make a difference in the business. And Eric essentially signs him to go to the power plant. And I assume it's probably the last you hear of him after this meeting until you see him on Nitro as a replay or something like that. Or
Yeah,
were you
pretty much.
keeping up with it?
Yeah, pretty much. They had their power plant was a good thing, and they needed it. And every territory needs a developmental area.
Right.
That's one of the great things about what Paul Levesque's doing now with uh, his developmental program there in Orlando. It's just you got to have it. You've got to train. You got to develop new, and certainly, Bill checked all those boxes, as you like to say, and was was really, he was seemingly a perfect fit. The issue is that, and I'll always be impressed with the way Eric and those guys booked him. I assume it's probably primarily Eric, just keeping him clean until you
Yes.
find out what he's going to do, find out what he can do, and find out what you want to do. It's easy to sail away and accumulate some wins and get him some exposure. And lo and behold, from almost day one, Conrad, if you recall back, because I know you're a Nitro guy back in the day, I was a little bit busy when they were airing, but nonetheless, I just he was booked right.
Right.
He was booked right, and that undefeated streak was it worked. As simplistic as it sounds, or old school as it sounds, it worked.